Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most pressing geopolitical stories of 2026, Iran in turmoil, nationwide protests, and heavy speculation about whether Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is planning his exit from power, or possibly even from the country. This topic is urgent, controversial, and deeply complex, affecting not just Iran, but the entire Middle East and global geopolitics. So buckle up as we unpack the current unrest, what is driving the chaos, who stands to benefit or lose, and crucially, is Khamenei really planning an escape? In late 2025 and continuing into early 2026, Iran has seen widespread protests erupt across the nation. These demonstrations are not isolated to one city or demographic. They're nationwide, with people from many walks of life joining in due to deepening economic pain and dissatisfaction with the regime. At the heart of these protests are issues that affect everyday Iranians, including skyrocketing inflation, the collapse of the rial, rising poverty and unemployment, energy shortages, economic stagnation, and the crushing effects of international sanctions. What started as unrest rooted in economic hardship has now evolved into overtly political opposition to the clerical leadership, especially against the supreme leader who holds ultimate authority in Iran's political system. Reports from January 2026 indicate that security forces have been cracking down violently, with multiple deaths, arrests, and even children killed amid protests. Human rights groups have documented at least 16 deaths during just 1 week of unrest, with over 1,000 arrests reported. The public anger stems not only from daily hardship, but also from decades of political repression, corruption, and a widening divide between Iran's rulers and its people. To understand why the Iranian situation matters, we need to look at who Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is and the power he wields. Khamenei has been supreme leader of Iran since 1989, after succeeding Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, the founder of the Islamic Republic. As supreme leader, he has ultimate authority over the armed forces, the judiciary, state media, foreign policy, the appointment of key officials, and essentially every major aspect of Iranian governance. Unlike a president in a democratic system, the supreme leader is not elected by popular vote, but selected by the clerical elite. This system concentrates power in the hands of the clerical institution rather than the public. Over the decades, Khamenei has maintained a tight grip on power, balancing hardliners, bureaucrats, and the Revolutionary Guard, while navigating multiple crises from wars abroad to international sanctions. But today, that grip appears to be challenged like never before. What sets the current unrest apart from past waves of protest in Iran is both intensity and breadth. For years, protests have surfaced intermittently, notably the 2022 Woman, Life, Freedom protests, but they were usually concentrated around a specific grievance or region and were suppressed before becoming nationwide insurrections. In early January 2026, protests erupted across more than 70 cities, from Tehran to Qom, from Mashhad to Isfahan. Demonstrators are not just demanding economic fixes, they are demanding fundamental political reform. Signs of escalation include clashes between protesters and security forces, youth-led mobilization including students and workers, intensified online activism despite internet restrictions, and widespread criticism of state leadership, including chants against the supreme leader himself. This is significant because Iran is a highly controlled society where public dissent, especially against the clerical leadership, has historically been risky and swiftly suppressed. Now, despite repression, anger is boiling over. Iran is not isolated, and external pressures also influence the situation. sanctions affect Iran's oil exports and overall economy, geopolitical tensions with the United States continue to rise, and ongoing hostilities and military threats involving Israel have added pressure. These factors have compounded domestic frustration and validated protesters' claims that mismanagement and endless military adventurism have drained Iran's economy. The Iranian leadership has pushed back by blaming foreign adversaries, a narrative often used to explain internal crises. However, many experts view this as a deflection from the deep social and economic issues facing the country. This is where the speculation gets intense. Multiple reports from early January 2026 suggest that Western intelligence sources have shared an assessment that Khamenei might have prepared a contingency plan to leave Iran should the unrest intensify or the security apparatus fail to contain it. According to these reports, the backup plan, often referred to as Plan B, would involve Khamenei leaving Tehran with a circle of trusted aides and family members. The most frequently mentioned destination is Moscow, Russia. His son, Mujtaba Khamenei, who is widely seen as a possible successor, might travel with him. This narrative draws parallels to Syrian President Bashar al-Assad, who fled to Moscow during intense conflict, and on which some analysts base their conjecture. If this intelligence report is even partially accurate, it would be a dramatic development signaling a deep lack of confidence in the regime's survival among its own leadership. It's critical to emphasize that these reports come from intelligence leaks shared with major Western newspapers, but neither the Iranian government nor the Russian government has officially confirmed anything. Iran has denied any intent to flee and continues to denounce protests as foreign, inspired. Moscow has not publicly acknowledged any plan to host Khamenei. So while this intelligence assessment has gained widespread attention, it remains unverified by independent or official sources. If Khamenei were to attempt an exit or even prepare for one, it would raise immediate questions about succession. He is 86 years old, and earlier discussions about succession sometimes included his son Mujtaba or other clerics. But no clear successor has universal support in Iran's complex power structure. A sudden exit could lead to a power vacuum, triggering a struggle among hardliners, reformists, the Revolutionary Guard Corps, clerical elites, and popular movements. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, a key pillar of the regime's authority, could be emboldened by any sign that top leaders are preparing for escape. If ordinary Iranians heard that Khamenei is planning to flee while people suffer in the streets, it would be seen as proof of the regime's unfitness to govern, and public anger could escalate dramatically. While intelligence reports dominate headlines, analysts caution against assuming the regime's end is imminent. Iran's clerical leadership has weathered protests before, even deadly confrontations. Security forces remain loyal to a large degree, and the Iranian public is deeply polarized, with not all citizens supporting regime change. Experts warn that overstating the possibility of Khamenei's exit could create false expectations and even accelerate instability. Looking ahead, analysts outline several potential paths for Iran. One possibility is continued suppression and stasis, where the regime uses force, intimidation, and limited economic concessions to quash protests. Another scenario is negotiated reforms, where some concessions are offered to appease citizens without systemic overhaul. A more concerning scenario is regime fragmentation, where hardliners, moderates, and military factions split, leading to internal conflict. There is also the possibility of a collapse and succession crisis, where a sudden exit or overthrow creates a vacuum with uncertain power dynamics. Finally, external intervention by international powers through sanctions or other pressure could increase instability. Each of these scenarios carries risks not just for Iran, but for the wider region, from Iraq to Syria, from Lebanon to Yemen, and for global energy markets and U.S. foreign policy. It's important to note that Iran, as a major regional power, affects the security and political calculus of its neighbors and global stakeholders. Instability in Tehran could trigger ripple effects across the Middle East and even beyond. If Khamenei were perceived as fleeing rather than confronting the crisis, it would fundamentally alter the geopolitical landscape and embolden both domestic opposition and foreign actors. Some reports about Khamenei's potential flight are leaks from intelligence sources and should be treated as speculative. However, the Iranian regime is undeniably facing serious domestic turmoil. Even the mere possibility of a contingency plan for exit holds symbolic importance, indicating the fragility of confidence among the elite. Whether or not these plans come to fruition, they reflect the enormous pressures weighing on the leadership. Iran's future is uncertain, and the coming months could be some of the most consequential in decades. If protests continue to escalate, economic conditions worsen, and the regime fails to restore public trust, the country could face a series of dramatic changes, possibly altering the balance of power in the Middle East for years to come. Analysts, journalists, and intelligence sources will continue monitoring every move from Tehran, watching for signs of cracks in the regime or any indication that the supreme leader is preparing for life outside Iran. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know in the comments what you think will happen next. Do you believe Khamenei is planning to flee, or is this just intelligence speculation? What do you think the international community should do in response to the unrest? Thank you for watching, stay informed, and we'll see you in the next video.